Hi, daily fourth graders. Right now we're going to discuss math lesson 537, which is about using the distributive property to help us multiply whole numbers times mixed fractions. Alrighty, so you need a piece of paper and a pencil or something to write with. And the first thing that you're going to do is you are going to try to write a number sentence to represent this tape diagram. What kind of number sentence could you write to represent this tape diagram? I want you to pause the video and write your number sentence or number sentences on your paper. Pause the video. Alrighty, you guys. So looking at this tape diagram, we see that we have 2 copies of 3. We see that we have 2 copies of 1/5. In other words, we also see that we have 1 copy of 3 1/5 and then another copy of 3 1/5. So, because we have 2 copies of 3 1/5, our multiplication sentence is 2 times 3 1/5. Alrighty. So if we were to, start with this multiplication problem, we could solve it by drawing a tape diagram, which is what I've already done for you. So using this tape diagram, let's solve for 2 times 3 1/5. Again, we made 2 copies of 3 1/5 right here, 1 copy and 2 copies. And to add it together, I really like to add the like units, the common units. We have ones and we have fifths. So to me, the easiest thing to do is to add 3 plus 3. We know that 3 plus 3 is 6. And then we also need to add together 1/5 plus 1/5. 1/5 plus 1/5 is 2/5. So the answer that we get to our multiplication problem is 6 plus 2/5, which is, you guessed it, 6 2/5. Okay. So using a tape diagram, that is one way that we can solve for a multiplication problem involving a whole number and a mixed number. However, like I said at the beginning of the video, we're going to be looking at how we can use the distributive property. And I just want to give you a heads up. A lot of you already use the distributive property in your head and you don't even know it. So we're going to discuss it today. Alrighty, so we're going to use the same multiplication sentence, 2 times 3 1/5. But we're going to, or at least I am going to erase our tape diagram. And we're going to think about how we can easily multiply using the distributive property 2 times 3 1/5. Okay. And as we go, we'll kind of explain what the distributive property is. So 2 times 3 1/5, it's difficult to multiply the whole thing by 2. So what we can do is we can split 3 1/5 into its parts. So we know that there's 2 different units in 3 1/5. We have 3 ones and we have 1/5. So we'll split it up into 3 1/5. Okay. So essentially, we are multiplying 2 times 3 and 2 times 1/5. So we're going to rewrite this. We are going to rewrite 2 times 3 1/5 as, and I'm going to try to write small so I can fit it all on my whiteboard. We'll see how it goes though. So we're going to rewrite it as 2 times 3 plus 1/5. Okay. So this multiplication sentence and this multiplication sentence, they're equivalent. They are the same. We just broke up 3 1/5 into its parts. Its ones and its fifths. Alrighty. So in the distributive property, which like I said, a lot of you already do this in your head. In the distributive property, you are taking one of the factors and you're multiplying it by its parts, okay? So using the distributive property, we are first going to multiply 2, and you should actually follow along with me. What helps me in the distributive property, I like to draw arrows. So first we're going to multiply 2 times 3, okay? So let's add that. 2 times 3. And let's make sure we're keeping it grouped in our parentheses. 2 times 3, we have that addition symbol, so we need to include that, plus 2 times 1/5. Okay, so using the distributive property, we broke apart 3 1/5 into 3 plus 1/5, and now we're multiplying 2 times 3, which is here, and then we're adding it to 2 times 1/5, which is right over here. Using this strategy helps us to break apart the problem into, more manageable steps. And now we're just going to simplify. So 2 times 3 is, you're right, it's 6. So 2 times 3 and 1/5 is equal to 2 times 3, which is 6, plus 2 times 1/5. What is 2 times 1/5? 2/5. Plus 2/5. 6 plus 2/5 equals what? 6 2/5. Bingo. I didn't box it very well, but that's okay. So using the distributive property, we found that 6 times 3 1/5 is equivalent to 6 times 2/5. Or sorry, it's the wrong. 6 2/5. Come on now. Alrighty, friends. So again, this was using the distributive property. I always find it really helpful to show that I'm multiplying by each of the parts using my arrows. And it's so important that you're showing all of your work. Alrighty, you guys. So, and also, if you have not done so already, you should have gone on Padlet and completed the see, know, determine problem. It looked like this. You were to take a look at this problem and share what you see, what you know, and what you determine. This did show the distributive property. So you should have done this before you started the lesson. However, if you if you did this first, then I want you to go on to Padlet and complete the see, know, determine with this problem. Alrighty, you guys. So I'm going to give you one problem to solve on your own, and I encourage you to use a tape diagram and the distributive property. Now, we really want to work on using the distributive property, right? But it is also so important as mathematicians, I speak English. It's so important as mathematicians to know how to use multiple strategies. So I would like for you guys to try 3 times 2 5/8 on your own. Again, you can use a tape diagram and you can use the distributive property. All right, you guys. Also, I would like for you to leave your answer as a mixed fraction. Okay? Mixed fraction. All right, you guys. So rewatch the video if you need some extra help. Remember that the Padlet also does need to be finished. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.